I went to Tasmania for 12 days in August 2023. I spent part of my time in Hobart and I visited Hastings Caves south of Hobart. After that, I went to Oatlands. There's another set of photos that deals with that. My intent was to not hire a car, so I spent most of my time in Hobart and I only used buses and mostly my feet. I went to my graduation from the University of Tasmania in a Diploma of Family History. The Oatlands trip was about searching for more clues about my great-great-grandmother, Sarah Crosby, in 1850. I stayed at the Hotel Astor in Macquarie Street. I'd been there before. It's 100 years old in 2023, so it has a special ambience. The object here is a birdcage. It's an antique that they purchased recently. And this is the breakfast room. It's very quaint. It's homely and cosy. After I settled in, I went for a walk. I walked past a new building in Murray Street called the Tasman Hotel. It was new, but the facade was old. I remembered walking past this building in October 2019 on my trip then. At that time, the facade was propped up and behind it was nothing but the building site. I discovered a plaque which gave the history of the building. It was the offices for a government department for a long time. In St. David's Park, there is a collection of gravestones rescued from the old cemetery when it made way for progress. You can learn a lot of stories walking down the walls of the gravestones. I went to the Maritime Museum on the corner of Davey and Argyle Streets. It had a model of the disaster in January 1975 when a ship crashed into the Derwent Bridge. The museum also had stories about convict ships, including an image of the Waterloo, which brought William Archer, my great-great-grandfather, to Sydney in 1838, but it was shipwrecked in 1842. A new phenomenon. At restaurants at night, I was confronted with QR codes you are supposed to use for ordering your meal. I don't like to do that. Tuesday was my graduation day from the University of Tasmania at the Grand Chancellor Hotel. Here am I on stage with the Chancellor, Alison Watkins. And here is my Diploma of Family History, the primary purpose of my visit. I moved to the Shipwrights Arms Hotel at Battery Point on Wednesday. The hotel was built in 1846 in Trumpeter Street and it looks down on the Derwent River. The front door of the hotel offers a joke about prim citizens who sought to shut the hotel down in 1924. The hotel is still open. There is a small breakfast room that has bay windows that look down the street to the river. Battery Point is very old and very interesting. This is an old slipway that runs down to the bay, where small shipbuilding still takes place. There are many stately homes in Battery Point. This one was where Andrew Inglis Clark lived. He contributed to the draft Constitution for Australia in 1891. This is St George's Anglican Church at Battery Point. It's an imposing affair. This is another of the many grand houses in the suburb. Many of the old houses have lovely gardens. These are magnolias. There were many flowers out, even in late August. At one house you could buy a bunch of flowers. I think these are peonies. The Jackman and Macross Cafe is a popular spot next to the Battery Point Post Office. They bill themselves as bakers of fine breads, cakes and pastries. Kelly Street leads to Kelly's Steps, which go down to Salamanca Place. Most houses in the street have a plaque narrating their history, and many of the gardens are quite beautiful. In Salamanca Place there is a statue for Abel Tasman, who landed here in 1642 and named it Van Diemen's Land after his governor. The plaque details the charter given to Abel Tasman, authorising him to claim undiscovered land for Batavia, the capital of the Dutch East Indies, now Jakarta, Indonesia. I visited Mawson's Hut's replica museum. Its focus is Douglas Mawson's 1911 to 1914 expedition to the Antarctic. At Macquarie and Evans Street is the Hobart Gas Company building with its chimney, constructed in 1924. The chimney is a splendid piece of work. This is Kelly's Taproom Hotel, established in 1807, making it the oldest hotel in Australia. It's popularly known as the Hope and Anchor Tavern. When I was walking from the city to Cascade's Female Factory, I came across a group of people intent on the creek. They were looking for a known platypus. This is the front stone wall of Cascade's Female Factory, now a World Heritage Site. Inside the museum there is a replica of the Rajah quilt, which was made by women convicts on the Rajah's voyage to Australia in 1841. This is one of the 4 yards at the Female Factory, where women convicts were kept between 1830 and the 1850s, unless they were on assignment to a settler. The building is the matron's cottage, which is the last building remaining. This is a new panel at Cascades. It has the names of all the babies that were born to convict women. My great-great-grandmother, Sarah Crosby, had a baby, Mary Ann, born on the 27th of April 1851, father unknown, and the fate of the child is unknown. She's listed in the panel. Thursday night at the Shipwrights Arms is jazz night. The music was excellent and the atmosphere was convivial. On Friday, I took a day trip south of Hobart by bus with a group to Hastings Caves and to the airwalk on the Huon River. The building here is the first National Park office, built in 1936. There were hot springs nearby, for which a tiled pool has been constructed. I went on a group tour into Hastings Caves. also called Newdigate Cave, something like that. The extent and the beauty of the stalactites and stalagmites was astonishing. There are lots of stairs that go up and down, and many unusual vistas. Lights are set up everywhere to give a fabulous view of the formations. The caves were discovered in 1916. The caves go for about 3 kilometres, and in all it takes 9 hours to traverse. Our tour was about an hour long. The stalactites only grow about 3 millimetres per year. They've taken millions of years to form. Some of the stalactites are so thin that they're called straws. And this photo is evidence that I was there. It really was a dazzling experience. On the track to the cave's entrance, there are many huge trees. Some of the young trees are also extremely tall. There are numerous stumps of huge trees that were chopped down years ago. We had lunch at a hotel at Commandy on the Huon River. A rainbow shone briefly. After lunch, we drove for an hour to a place called Tahoon Adventures on the Huon River. The airwalk is a steel structure, a walkway high among the trunks and the crowns of the trees. There is a cantilever section out above the river, looking at the mountains. Someone offered to take my photo. It was cold up there. The forest showed much sad evidence of the bushfires in 2019. The steel structure is very sturdy. After this, we got on the bus again and returned to Hobart.